Welcome to the latest episode of the Claus Corner. Today's guest is someone that never settles for less. Whatever goals he wants to achieve, he goes at it 1,000%. Working as an English and creative writing teacher, he decided to push that to the side to pursue his dream of becoming a fitness coach. Once he achieved that, he soon realized that even that wasn't enough for him. He wanted to start his own business. It didn't take him long to get Devil's Grip powerlifting off the ground. Here he offers 4, 8, and 12-week programs as well as monthly fitness and nutrition coaching. He says his primary focus areas are working with clients interested in general physique training as well as strength and powerlifting. In his spare time, he also acts in low-budget movies. I had the honor of being one of his clients at a local gym as well as co-starring in a movie with him that can now be found on YouTube. So please welcome teacher, fitness coach, powerlifter, movie aficionado, music connoisseur, the one known as the Lone Wolf. Of course, I'm talking about John Thomas Wetmore. John, welcome to the Claus Corner, and how the hell are you?
I am fantastic, Rich. Thanks for
having me. So glad to hear that. You and I have been trying to get you on the show for so long. I met you probably, is it 2 years ago or maybe a year ago? You were my trainer. It's been, I think it was last year. And you and I realized we have so much in common with movies, music, books, bands. I mean, there's so much. And what I loved about you as a trainer, we're going to get into all this, is that you used to say, you know what, they want me to do this, but I'm going to do this for you, Rich, because I'm going to make this like you specialize the sessions just for me because I have cerebral palsy, and you're like, you know what, let me see what we can do with your hand. Let's do this. And it's great. Like I definitely could feel the strength in the hand and also the leg too.
Yeah, well, do this and then I'm going to do something else. That's pretty much been the motto of my whole life. So I'm glad that it extended into our work together.
Well, we're going to talk about that because I've noticed a little trend there. I started off in the intro. First of all, you were an English and creative writing teacher.
Yeah, I was for many years.
So, right. So that's a big jump going from that to fitness coach. First, let's go back to John Wetmore, the early years.
Oh, no.
When growing up, did you have a dream? What did you really want to be? Like, was it a teacher?
It's weird because I feel like there's different categories of dreams when you're a kid.
Yeah.
Right. And in my private musings, I was like, oh, I want to be like Stone Cold Steve Austin. Like, I want to be 242 pounds and jacked, and I want to give people the finger and beat the shit out of them. But then
accomplish.
Yeah, finally. So, that was kind of like the private thing that I wanted to be because I was super nerdy, especially in elementary school, big head, got picked on. My moniker for years was either alien, big head, all different stuff. So I was I would see wrestlers on TV who could beat anybody up, and I was like, that is what I want to aspire to. But as far as professional aspirations when I was young, I went through a bunch of typical ones. I had the ones that were foisted upon me, like lawyer, engineer, stuff like that. But I don't know. I for a while, I guess I said that I wanted to do those things, but I didn't really give too much of a shit.
I'm starting to think that maybe you went back to school just to bully the kids that.
Yeah. No, I really liked books and reading and really any kind of artistic stuff, honestly. And I think once I got out of college, I was like, what can I do where I can be around people and I can still have that as part of my life? And so I ended up a teacher.
Who were some of your favorite authors growing up, and who are some of your favorite authors now? I'm sure there's a lot of similar ones, or same ones, but I'm sure there might be some newer authors that you like.
Yeah. I mean, that's a long list, but the one that you can see on the top shelf.
Let's see.
You might not be able to see the name, but I have a whole shelf dedicated to Gene Wolfe there. He's one of my favorites. He passed away a few years ago, but brilliant author. They called him science fiction's difficult genius. Mm-hmm. And he kind of, a lot of science fiction gets a bad rap for being very pulpy, not well written.
Yeah.
high concept, low intellect, but
Not Gene
he
Wolfe.
was no, he really liked language, and he put all different, he incorporated words and names from all different types of mythologies and languages, and he was really just a brilliant writer as well as a science fiction writer. So I got a lot of mileage out of reading his stuff. Found it inspiring, and his main mantra as an author was his ideal book was one that you could read and enjoy and then return to almost an infinite number of times and read with increasing pleasure.
Hmm.
And so, just having that philosophy behind creating stuff, I think is really cool, especially in like an age where a lot of the stuff that we read, watch, and do everything with is so fucking disposable. We
Yeah.
look at it once and then never ever think about it again. So to have someone who's, you know, their very object is to make something that is a little bit puzzling and a little bit difficult, that might take multiple readings just to get everything out. I think that's cool.
Yeah. Well, you know what's funny? Saw an interview with Stephen King, and he said a lot of people come up to him, "Oh, I love that movie. I love that movie." He said, I write books." Like, no, a lot of the younger people didn't even know, like, "Oh, no, I love that movie." Like, I actually write books. They're not just movies. And
Yes.
and it's sad because a couple years ago, when my girlfriend and I were moving in together, we were having a tag sale and we were selling some of the books that she wanted to get rid of. And I said, "Oh, you got to check this book out. Great author." And he goes, "Gave up on reading a long time ago, bro." And I said, "That's nothing you should really be proud of." And he was bragging about it, like, "Oh, I don't read, bro." It's like, and it's sad because I see a lot of younger people with that same mentality. Like I always used to make the joke, if you ever want to kill somebody and hide the body, do it in the library section where the books are, because nobody goes in there. Usually they go right to the DVD section.
That's funny. Gene Wolfe actually has a book that involves a murder in a library,
Ah.
and nobody can figure out who did it. Funny.
That's why I gotta check him out. I've heard the name and I've seen him at bookstores, but I never picked it up.
Yeah, yeah, really, really interesting stuff. I got some Stephen King over here as well. The Dark Tower was really cool. I don't know if you ever read that, those
That's
Stephen King books.
yeah, that's probably one of the only ones I haven't read. I've read all his books, and maybe I think because that's a huge commitment. There's so many
It,
books to that.
yeah, it is a huge commitment. It's also a little emotional because there's very few authors who write a book series like that spans such a huge swath of their lifetime.
Yeah.
Uh, and to see Stephen King at times at like the height of his creative power writing those books, and then post getting hit by a van, uh seeing some of that power diminish a little bit, and
See, I love the books post accident because I mean 11/22/63 I think is phenomenal. I love that book. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones, and I love the I can't remember it's the cop series, Finders Keepers series.
yeah,
He's definitely written for me. He's definitely written some good books post accident. But I know that he gave up on writing. He said I can't even think of anything. I can't write anything, and I'm glad he's still doing it because I enjoy his books. And also his son Joe Hill is a
yeah,
great author.
yes, yeah, he's written some cool stuff.
Yeah.
And not to bring it into the realm of film and television again, since they do write books.
Yeah.
But I've heard good things about that Nosferatu
Yeah.
ones
Series.
out of Joe Hill's work.
Yeah. That one I haven't seen. I saw Horns, which was funny because it starred was it Daniel Radcliffe, which I didn't expect him to play a role like that, but I don't know if you've read that book, but
Mhm.
this is great. My favorite out of all his books though has to be Fireman for Joe Hill.
Okay.
Things about
I haven't read that one.
that's sort of like The Stand. It's like 1,000 pages long, and it just goes on and on. But it's one of those books where, this is when you know when a book is good. You're at the end like, oh shit, it's over, and you're disappointed because it's over because you were so into it and you didn't want
Yeah.
it to end.
Yeah, those are the good ones. Those are the good ones.
And of course, for me, Michael Crichton is definitely at the top too. He just came out with book after book after book in so many different genres. And the thing I like about him is you probably could appreciate this. If you ever read the back of his book, all the research he did. I mean, they were fictional books, but he had so much facts packed into his novels.
Yeah. Yeah, that stuff is really cool. And honestly, for people who don't write, like that's the way that you learn to write. Like,
Mhm.
people read books and they feel intimidated, like, oh, I don't know anything. Like, I could never write a book. I don't know shit about shit. It's
Yeah,
like, what? No, nobody does. They
exactly.
like, Herman Melville wasn't in the whaling industry before he went and like learned about it.
I know. I think so many people are afraid of being criticized or afraid of failure that they don't even want to try. It's like, what's the
Yeah,
worst thing that's going to see? If somebody says it sucks, I'm like, okay, it's like it just wipe it off and keep on walking. It's not like they're going to tell me something then I'm just going to drop dead. It's like my life continues. Your opinion really doesn't mean anything to me. I mean, for me, you've known a lot of the stuff I've done. I've done the one book. I've done comedy, motivational speaking. I'm doing this. There's some people that think I suck. Some people think I'm great. So I don't really care. I know I'm having a great time, and I know I enjoy what I do, and I know I do it well. So
well, again, to quote another literary figure, I think it was Oscar Wilde who said, when critics are in disagreement, the artist is in accord with himself.
I
So
like that.
having some haters and some lovers of your stuff is, you've made it when that happens.
I always say that when I was doing comedy. I said I don't care if I'm loved. I don't care if I'm hated. The worst thing that could ever happen is somebody being apathetic, like, "Hey, what did you think of Rich? Which one was that?" I'd rather say, "Oh my God, he sucked," or "No, I love that guy," instead of like,
It's
"Oh,
good to stink out loud, even.
exactly." So luckily I have a thick skin and nothing like that ever bothered me, especially with all the things that I still do. And there's always going to be somebody that, and like you say, I love that quote by Oscar Wilde. It's true. It's like if you're pleasing everybody, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
You-
Um,
well, sticking with authors, were you a fan of Greg Iles? I don't know if you know his work.
no, I'm not familiar.
Yeah, I think you would like him. He's another one that he came out with this book, and he said basically his publisher wanted him to write the same book with just a different title. So he said, I'm not going to do that. He wrote another book that became a bestseller. Then they said, you know what, you have carte blanche. You can do whatever you want. And he's written in so many genres, so many great books, and
Hmm,
he's now he has a series. He lives over in Natchez, down south, and most of the books are based in that, but they're really good.
nice.
Yeah, so that's another author that we like. So just you mentioned Oscar Wilde. Out of like the literary greats, who'd be your favorite? Like Hemingway, Oscar Wilde, Charles Dickens. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones that come to mind.
Honestly, that's a hard one to say. I really did honestly like Charles Dickens when I was in school.
Yeah,
Um, I was big on his stuff. Um, I really like H.G. Wells because that's kind of like a, segue into the whole science fiction
yeah.
fantasy realm. So he's definitely got a soft spot in my heart. Um, Faulkner is
Hmm.
really good. Um, his was the kind of stuff that was like, you know, dense and a little confusing. That I like. That's in the realm of Gene Wolfe. Weird stuff like characters that are, maybe psychic, but it's never really explained.
Yeah.
Uh, and you kind of got to just puzzle that out from the text. Those were some fun tricks that I liked out of those authors. Um, Proust, in terms of like literary density, that was another one where Joyce too. I spent a lot of time having fun trying to read Finnegan's Wake, finding it impossible, like most people.
Are you a Shakespeare fan?
Oh yeah, yeah. I got the collected work somewhere behind me.
Yep.
That nice big Barnes and Noble edition.
All right. What about Hemingway?
I did. Yeah, I like Hemingway.
Yeah. You know, it's
The
funny.
Whole
Like some of
Stride
these,
is great.
what impresses me about some of these authors, I mean, King is actually included in this, is like especially Hemingway. He was alcoholic. I don't know how you can even write. Like Stephen King says, he doesn't even remember writing Cujo because he used to drink a case of beer in one night. So
Yeah,
it's amazing that these people like Hemingway, Stephen King, some of these other authors that could write, not even remember it, and it's great.
yeah. Well, I feel like that's kind of writing process in general, like even if you don't drink to blacking out, it's almost like you get into
Yeah.
a feverish state where you can't really remember afterwards, like, how did I write this? And especially when you go back and like revise and edit, that's a whole nother thing. You're like, who is this person who was writing before? I don't even know.
Yeah.
I don't even know what I was trying to communicate here. I think, have you ever heard of Harlan Ellison?
Mhm.
He really loved to just like write in public with like people haranguing him. Like that was the environment he liked. And then he would just kind of like never look at certain stuff again.
Uh, wouldn't know. What about you? Have you ever written anything?
Hmm. Yeah, as far as my writing career, like I wrote a book, but it's unpublished. I do have some published poems and whatnot that I wrote.
Ah,
Um, so I was getting into that world for a little while. I had a poetry mentor, he's a Connecticut poet named Steve Strait. Um, and he was encouraging me to put stuff together to publish like a, poetry book manuscript, which I did. I actually got it all together, but didn't publish it. So
yeah. Well, now is the best time for authors and musicians, I think, not making money wise, but if you
yeah.
want to be an amateur or just do it on your own, DIY, do it yourself, you can go to Amazon, Kindle, whatever it's called, Kindle Direct Press or whatever. I forgot what the exact terminology is. My friend did it for me, but you can print up a book that looks exactly like everything else that's published by these big name authors that have publishing companies. So I think for that point, it's the best time for people that just want to be creative and want to do their own thing and not have to worry about like, oh my God, I have to knock on every door. I have to try to get this published. Just go and do it yourself. So that's
Yeah, I think it's a great mentality to have. And, as a fitness coach nowadays, like just like you're saying with other endeavors, like just getting people to start,
mhm.
and believe that like they can do something is really important. And so if I'm going to preach it, might as well live by the same mantra.
Well, let's talk about that because as I mentioned, that's a huge jump going from teacher to fitness coach. What clicked in your brain that said, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be a teacher anymore.
So honestly, like it was a culmination of a lot of different factors over the years, but it really got to the point of the pandemic where I was teaching during the pandemic, and like everybody knows that that period sucked. But I was actually like talking to, I think I was talking to a therapist, and I was just like, I realized that so much of what we were doing and like the way that the job was no longer like in alignment with my values and like why I got into it. Nothing creative about it. I didn't get to plan any of my units, any of my lessons in the last year. The kids weren't really allowed to do creative stuff, even though they were like begging for that kind of
Yeah.
stimulation and outlet, being locked up in their houses, having, no social life. They were like dying for that kind of stuff. And the school was simultaneously like praising me for trying to do like extracurricular creative writing activities while also actively punishing me if I tried to give any creative writing assignments. And so there's also this kind of like, and a lot of teachers will describe the same thing to you, like an increasing like, kind of panopticon where like administrators are always watching you,
Hmm.
and are even looking in on like your Google Classroom, which they have access to. They can look at all your lesson materials, all your correspondences, like they just see everything. And to like be micromanaged at that level really stinks, and I think really gets in the way of the authenticity and those connections that you can make with kids. And that was the thing that I loved about doing the job. So feeling my connections diminish for no good reason,
Yeah.
and seeing those creative elements, I was just like, this isn't what I want to do anymore, you know?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. It- just the opposite of what I was saying. I think right now, being a writer, musician, whatever, it's the best time if you want to be creative. I think it's the worst time for a job like a teacher, police officer, because for me, I would be so afraid if I said something that might offend one person. They're going to go to the parents, they're going to go to the principal, the superintendent's going to get involved, and it's going to be taken out of context. And just because one person took something the wrong way, you're going to be suspended. It's just there's so many things, and they're so worried about making everybody happy. I just wouldn't be able to work in that kind of environment. That's another issue. Whereas
Yeah.
just
They have, here's the thing, everything starts with a kernel of good intention. And like, you know, I really don't know. I think there's a lot of different sources for why they like are down teachers' throats so badly.
Mhm.
Um, if it starts in the interest of like protecting kids, because I've encountered lots of teachers, who don't have good boundaries in terms of what they say or what they do, on like a relatively innocent level to a not innocent level.
Yeah.
Um, and like, somebody needs to like find that out and do something about it. But to have like the majority of just like good teachers who are trying to do their jobs, and that process is so interrupted. And I don't want to get too far into down the rabbit hole of like educational philosophy, but
Mhm.
the people at the highest levels of like studying how children learn,
Mhm.
they're like, we don't really know how they learn. um, so there's just all these people along the way who have this very authoritative and maybe even authoritarian uh, picture of how kids are going to learn the best, and imposing that as administrators and instructional coaches and things like that. And I'm like, you're just not correct, because there is no real right answer.
Mhm.
And the stuff that you're giving me is incomprehensible to me. It's incomprehensible to my students. It's hard for me to figure out what your vision for this curriculum even was, because it's written by somebody else. So, I don't know. I just think it's gone the wrong way, and I just didn't want to get caught up in the tide. I fought it for as long as I could, and then I said, do something else for a while.
You definitely made the right move. My personal opinion, you definitely made the right move. So how
I made the
long?
right move. I made the right move for me.
Yep.
I respect the people who still got skin in the game for sure, because
Oh yeah.
it's not easy. Not always easy.
Yeah, and I can't imagine. There was a meme that I saw that was perfect for this time, where it was a split screen, and they said in the old days you'd see the principal and the parent yelling at the student to be better. Now the second meme was or the parent and the student yelling at the principal saying, "Leave my kid alone. Shut up. He's right." So they said that you don't they don't really have the back of the before it'd be like the parent be like, "You know what? Don't worry about it, John. I'll take care of it. He will not be doing this again." Like, no, you can't say it to my kid. My kid is special. Just, I mean, like I said, I'm generalizing here. I know there are some great kids out there and there's some great teachers, but
Yeah, sure.
I'm generalizing and I speak to a lot of different teachers and they tell me all the same stories that you and I are talking about now. And I think you went from fitness coach. So when did you decided like over the years when you were a teacher, I'm sure you liked working out and you were at the gym all the time and that when you got the bug for it?
Honestly, when I was young, I really liked working out. I coached wrestling when I was a high school teacher. But I found, that was another thing, like I talked about the cumulative effect over the years of teaching.
Yeah.
Like all the stuff that I wanted for myself, like to be really serious about fitness, blah, blah, blah. I just didn't do that because I always put the job aspects first. And so, I'd get a good string of a few months working out in the gym, and then the end of the quarter would come and I'd have, a zillion things to do, and I would just stop for weeks or months on end. So I'd say in a lot of my 20s, I did not have a good um, track record with my own personal fitness.
Mm.
But then during the pandemic, the big mantra for schools was like, take care of yourselves. You've got to do self care. And so I was like, I'm going to lift heavy ass weights as my self care. And once I started doing it and I had, consistency under my belt and the room to do it, I was like, I'm never stopping.
Mhm.
So I honestly didn't start powerlifting until I was about 30 years old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Um,
So what do you have to go through to become a fitness coach?
well, there's the basic certifications, but like a lot of things, just like being a teacher, your schooling really
Yeah.
doesn't matter. The certification that you get doesn't matter. It's all about the experience of being with people, learning how to work out, learning what works for different people,
Yeah.
being adaptable, meeting needs, being of service to people. Um, that's the stuff that really matters at the end of the day. Um, and for me, it's just about being in the world because, part of what I do is general fitness coaching. Part of it is coaching powerlifting as a sport.
Hmm.
And, for that, you just have to be as immersed in that world as you can and, you know, do what works and then also try to be a little bit on the cutting edge of new stuff that comes out.
Yeah. Well, I see. I love that mentality, and I work with some of the trainers at the gym now,
Yeah.
and sometimes they'll say because they have 6 or 7 people, like Rich, you're so far ahead of these people. I'm going to put you over here. I have something completely different. Ignore that board, and they'll have me do something else, and they so and you can't. I mean, it sounds great when somebody who's not even at the gym, who doesn't even know the people you're working out with, saying, "Oh yeah, do these exercises. This will be good." But you know these people. You know what they're good at. You know if they've already done that for the last year and a half, 2 years, and they're ready for something more. So I think that should be a mixture of both. Maybe that could be a guideline, and then you should be able to write inside there. Say, you know what, I'm gonna do this for this group, and this group I'm gonna do something different because I know my clients much more than you do. That's the way it should be.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And yeah, Rich is hardcore. You can't do what the normies are doing.
I know. It's like I'm over there falling asleep and said, "Oh, you got? Come on, give me a challenge."
Yep. Good old unkillable Rich. Yep.
Uh, well, I'm glad that you're on the show because people have been asking me different questions about supplements, and I wanted your opinion. You and I talked about this off the air before, but I want your opinion because to me, I mean, I want to see what you think. I think a lot of the supplements are bullshit. Am I somewhat correct?
I'd say so. I mean, if you classify bullshit as having, being something that has no real scientific,
Yeah.
clinical trials behind it to show its efficacy for a certain purpose, then yes, a lot of them are bullshit. They, might do, there's some that might do what they're purported to do, but nobody knows that for sure.
Yeah.
Uh, So yeah, I'd say the majority of them are bullshit, and the ones that work really well are mostly illegal.
No.
Like steroids, they work great. They're
Yeah.
fantastic. But they come with a certain cost also.
Yeah. All right. So what about protein shakes? Because I know that's like the big thing now. Oh my God. Right after a workout, you have to have a protein shake that builds the muscle, repairs it. Is there any truth to that?
So protein, definitely, there's recent research to suggest that like there's a pretty high threshold of how much protein you can utilize, and what will contribute to muscle growth, right? The classic one that they had thought was like, a gram per pound of body weight. And you might even be able to use a little bit more than that, which is a lot. Like I'm 225 pounds, that's 225 grams of protein a day. So I was just drinking a protein shake here. Supplementary protein, it's helpful in the sense that it is hard to eat that much food mass in a
Yeah.
day. And so this very efficient form of protein, it's easy to get down. It's not solid. You can digest it a lot easier. If there's a time in the day when don't have access to a sit down meal with chicken and rice or beef or tempeh or whatever it may be, your protein of choice.
Yeah.
It's very convenient and very helpful. Um, Beyond that, is it necessary? No. the big selling point, the marketing of protein powder is that it's, because it's quickly digestible, that it'll help in the anabolic window, right?
Mhm.
Like, oh, your muscles are broken down after a workout, you got to have protein like immediately
Yeah.
directly injected into your muscles. And the more they learn about that, the more they know that the anabolic window is mostly myth. Um,
Okay.
I think it's probably good recommendation, to have some kind of protein source within, 90 minutes of training, probably. But the most important thing overall is to be meeting that target that you set for yourself per day and
Mhm.
having protein spread throughout the day. That's more important than any like specific timing or any intake window that you'd have for protein.
Would you recommend more than one shake per day?
That really is where it starts to boil down to people's habits. If people have kind of a shitty diet and where they're not eating a lot of good foods, they're not packing their diet with foods that could be better, um, then I might say no.
Yeah.
Because I'd say, oh, you're kind of relying on that as a crutch, and you could have there's a lot of micronutrients and things you might be missing out on from eating more balanced meals and whole foods. For other people, that could be just fine.
Yeah.
It really would have to boil down to taking a look at your diet and seeing, what's in there. Could you put more high quality protein foods that would fill that out a little bit? And I think usually the answer is yes. But there's nothing specifically wrong with having two a day either.
Mhm. Seems like the next big thing, next big craze is creatine. What do you think about that one?
So when I said like most things are not good unless they're illegal, creatine, I guess, would be the one exception. It's definitely
Ah,
not magical, but it is studied
yeah.
very extensively to the point where people are like, yeah, well, this does have some effect, especially in the long term on, increasing muscle mass, muscle size. Um, it helps a little bit with the recovery aspect too from training. So that is the one that I think has the biggest body of research behind it to say that it's worth its salt. But again, you know,
Yeah.
there's a lot of kids like 15-year-olds who are like, I'm going to start getting big now because I'm taking creatine. Uh, if they took their eating, because I have young clients too who like they're like, I set an alarm on my phone to take my creatine. I'm like, dude, you are 130 pounds. If you ate food, like you would be so much bigger and stronger
That's
than a
funny.
little scoop of creatine.
People always
So
want the quick fix. That's what it is. They want instant.
it is. And a lot of people definitely, to use that old cliche, will, step over dollars to pick up dimes uh,
Yeah.
when it comes to their nutrition and their fitness. So, and I'm sure you've seen this at the gym too. It's kind of a big argument now because there's the big thing in training is, especially with like muscle growth, is there's a wave of like science-based training,
Hmm.
and it's been put in opposition to like the old school, you know, bro bodybuilder types,
Yeah.
who are just kind of like clang and bang. And
The Cro-Magnons.
yes, yes. And the criticism that the science-based lifting community gets a lot of times is that their proponents of it are telling you how to build muscle, and yet they have no muscle to speak of. And that's not everybody who's in that camp, but
Yeah.
that's kind of been the cliche where there's some skinny science bro who's telling you how to lift, who's telling a guy who has the muscle mass of a silverback gorilla, who's deadlifting 700 plus pounds, telling them how to gain muscle. And they're like, that's preposterous. So, that's kind of been like the big debate recently. And they're really at the end of the day, um, I think it probably makes money for people to be in one camp or the other and
Yeah.
to, you know, poop on one or the other. but they're really not in opposition. And a lot of the stuff a lot of stuff that comes out of the scientific community is just confirming things that, bodybuilders and health professionals have known, fitness professionals have known for a long time. Um, so it's not really an opposition, but it just gets weird because you see a lot of people doing a lot of little fancy like very specific exercises. I'm
Yeah.
going to target like one fiber of my rhomboids with this exercise, when really they've never built a single pound of muscle, and they're doing these very myopic little fine tuning exercises when they should just be doing the basics.
That's funny. Yeah, no, I agree with that, and I know exactly what you're talking about. Another question I have for you is because what is the average time? I mean, what's the normal time that you should get workout in? And I know it differs for people. The reason I'm asking this because I see people in there for 3.5 hours, and they look the same as somebody that's been working out hardcore for maybe 45 minutes.
Yeah. So that's a good question. I think for most people, you can definitely work out for 45 minutes to an hour a
Okay.
day, a few times a week,
Yeah.
and get pretty much the best results that you're going to get. That's for a general population. I think for certain things, people who are into powerlifting, they're probably going to spend a little bit longer in the gym, because they are doing something that is athletic. They're doing something that uses different energy systems and different systems of the body. If you're trying to build muscle in the gym, you don't need to do a lot of stuff that is like loading through your spine,
Mm.
right? That's causing a lot of axial fatigue, meaning like fatigue through your central nervous system, what we call axial fatigue through your spine, or central fatigue, which is just your central nervous system. Um, that general systemic fatigue. People don't need to be doing that, but powerlifters who are lifting really enormous loads because that's part of their sport, they're going to need a big cool down time, right? Because it's not just the local fatigue of muscles and the lactic acid and other metabolites that need to clear away. They really need to like be able to reset their nervous system, which depending on your level of strength can take up to 3 to 10 minutes for a lot of people,
Yeah.
between those very, very heavy working sets. And some people are doing multiple heavy compound lifts, a bench press and a deadlift on the same day. So those people are going to take a long time, but for the general person who wants to look better,
Mm.
wants to look good naked, if they're using their time well,
Yeah.
um, and have at least a little bit of cardiovascular endurance to be able to not rest for 5 minutes and look at their phone between sets, then
Yeah.
they can get it done in a pretty quick time,
Yeah.
for sure.
Have you ever heard it's on YouTube. I watch it. I can't remember his name, but it's called Athletics. There's a
Oh, yeah.
guy on there. So the reason I'm bringing him up because he said something, and I wanted your opinion on this. He said that basically, when you go into a gym and you're doing 3 sets of 12, you're never really going to gain muscle. He goes, his thing was more do it until failure. What do you recommend if you want for building muscle, not for strength or not for looking good naked?
Whew. Okay. So for building muscle specifically, or building strength?
All right, let's go with building muscle first.
Okay. So for building muscle, I mean, the Athlete X guy says a lot of stuff. He gets a lot of hate online. I do think a lot of things that someone like him says is simplified so that people will do the thing that they're supposed to do.
Mhm.
And a lot of people, they're not training anywhere near where they might be with muscle failure, or what we call technical failure. Like they can't do another perfect rep of the exercise that they're doing.
Yeah.
So telling people that they have to train to failure is going to help them get some results because they're training so far away from that it's a simple way of pushing them in that direction.
Yeah.
Whether you actually need to train every set to failure, if you're really big and strong, um, training 3 sets of say you do 2 exercises for chest, 6 sets in total, every one of those is to failure, you are going to beat the piss out of yourself.
Mhm.
And it's going to, that's kind of one of the big reasons why some people drop out of going to the gym after the first 3 weeks, is because they start to feel weaker. Um, because they've been pushing every set to failure because they saw that they were supposed to do that online.
Yeah.
And they're starting to get into that place where their connective tissues and stuff like that are saying, no, this hurts. And they realize they can't just linearly keep progressing forever. And so that's where they run into some problems. So I'd say in general, pushing hard is good.
Mhm.
Taking every set to all balls out failure might be a recipe for hurting more than you're helping,
Yeah.
I would say.
I think hurting plus, as you mentioned, being discouraged. It's like, I can't do this anymore. They're going to quit way before they should. Now, what about strength?
Now, and just one more thing for muscle building too, there's a lot of stuff in the muscle building world that on the opposite side of things is trickle down from the bodybuilding world, the pros, the IFBB pros. Those people are all on performance enhancing drugs,
Mhm.
which help in a lot of ways with recovery, with, muscle mass, all the stuff that all the anabolic functions of your body. So those people can train a lot harder, usually. Well, actually, in some cases they can't, but they can train really hard and they can recover.
Mhm.
Some normal humans, a 50-year-old guy who's trying to look a little better might run into some problems training like Dorian Yates. So I'll leave it at that. Strength is much different though at the top end. Um, you should not really be training to failure for strength.
Mhm.
You should be lifting heavy, but for most of a power lifter's training is probably going to be somewhere in like the 70 to 80% of max range, for some scheme of reps. And then as you get towards the time where you're going to peak to do your maximum efforts, try to hit a new 1 rep max, you'll be touching stuff that's in the higher 80s to 90% in training. But getting to failure, like deadlifting until failure, has been shown to not have a big contributing effect to strength. It makes the fatigue way too high versus the adaptation is not as good.
Yeah. All right. So, as I mentioned, you were a fitness trainer for a while, then you started your own business. And once
Yeah.
again, what the name of the company is
Devil's grip powerlifting.
Devil's Grip Powerlifting.
Yes.
And I love the shirt. You were showing me the shirt off the air. I have one of my own. I love and I want to talk about that too. The reason I wanted you to show is because I think you put this online and people are giving you pun intended. They gave you hell over that.
Yeah. Which I thought was so funny.
It is. I think it's
It's really
hilarious.
funny. And it could be a whole nother conversation about, the fitness world. And I think where a lot of people, that's kind of one of the things that I want to do with my brand and, just my training is like getting people who might have been turned off from the
Yeah.
fitness industry, because a lot of it is like, I don't know, there's a lot of like holier than thou religious types, uh, who I have nothing against religious people. But there's a lot of like holier than thou people who look down on others, who, uh,
Oh yeah.
proselytize to you, who make fitness and make like your behaviors into a moral thing. And I hate that stuff.
You and
I
me both.
hate that. People got so much shit going on in their lives. They can change, right? People can definitely change, but usually the way through it is not through shame.
Hmm.
And, that tends to be a big thing. But I made this shirt because it's a reference to a video game called Cuphead. in which the devil makes you do all these different tasks. It's a little cartoon fun game with a cartoonish style. So I was playing it at the time when I made this shirt as an homage. And yeah, I had people like messaging me being like, your business will never succeed if you're in cahoots with the devil.
Oh
I
my
was like,
God.
I was like, you need to get a grip. You need to
First of
come
all,
down to reality.
First of all, I mean, I always say this, like there's an on button and an off button. It's like I don't know why anybody should be offended at anything. I'm never offended by anything, but if you don't like something, why do you have to stop and make a comment? You're doing your own thing. You're minding your own business. Why do they have to come in and tell you all this stuff? And it just, I don't know, that pisses me off too. It's like if you don't like something, you don't have to be a part of it. Why do you have to sit there and make a comment saying, "Oh, John, you're gonna fail"? I was like, "Fuck you."
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm with you on that. And I just want to say, and with religion. I met this. I used to work with this girl years ago when I was at Sarah's, and I thought it was the funniest thing. She goes, "Oh, I'm very religious. I'm this and that." So all week she'd go out drinking, smoking, having sex with all these different guys. I said, "I thought you're religious." I am. I go to church on Sunday. I said, "So you go to church on Sunday and you're forgiven from Monday through Saturday?" Yes. And she was dead serious. I said, "I love your religion. Your religion's the
Yeah,
best."
that's definitely.
I know.
It'd be horrible, and then just apologize.
Exactly. Just say, God, ignore last week. I'm good today. But that's funny. I personally think it's a great logo. I didn't know the story behind it, but that makes it even better. And I'm glad you didn't change it. I'm glad because like so many people I think would get something like that. Oh my God, I don't want to. I better change it. There's people complaining about it. Fuck that.
Yeah, yeah. And the great irony as well is that I drew this image, and then my sister is the one who like used her graphic design skills to make it look like something good.
Yep.
And she's a very religious Christian person. She saw this and she was like, that looks awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's make it a shirt. She doesn't care. So it's not an attack on her. It's not an attack on anybody.
No.
uh it's just for fun little visual reference. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and again, just for people who are watching this, I'm generalizing. Not everybody's like that, but I have met people like that in the past, and the stories I'm saying are real examples of that. So I just hate hypocrites, people that say they're holier than thou and putting everybody else down, and then they can do whatever they want because they think that God's on their side. I'll leave it at that. So
Oh, yeah.
how is your business doing?
Doing great. Yeah. um got a few new clients in this month. Got some really promising young lifters. Some people who I'm going to get to travel to go see them compete and coach them through. And that's the kind of stuff that really lights my fire. I got a young guy who is going to be going to junior nationals in April. I have two lifters who are in their early 20s who are Marines who are going to be competing at California state champs. I hopefully will have at least one athlete who's going to qualify for USPA drug tested nationals this year.
Wow.
I might qualify myself, but I don't think I'm going to compete. So, there's a lot of good things in the pipe. So very excited. 2024 was, the best year so far for the business. So hoping to top my previous efforts because otherwise, what am I doing,
So let's do a little plugging then. Where can people find you if they want to be a part of the devil? If they want,
soul to the devil. There's a couple of places, where people can find me. This shirt that I'm wearing here is from the gym where I work. Actually, this shirt is too. It's from a gym called Lightning Fitness in South Windsor, Connecticut. It's a fantastic gym. I'm amazed. I'm just an independent contractor there. So, I have a contract with the gym and I train my clients there. But it's like an incredible place. I can't believe that it exists sometimes. It's called, known colloquially as the strongest gym in New England.
Mhm.
So very cool place to check out. And, my clients who come see me there, I pay a fee for them to come in. So they don't pay anything besides what they pay me to work with me as a coach. They can also find me at sweatmorewetmore on Instagram,
Hmm.
which is my Instagram name. That's primarily where I do business. That's where I meet a lot of new prospective clients, a lot of young lifters who are lifting, making contact, making relationships, and I eventually find the right people who groove with me and who see value in what I do, and that's how we connect.
Do you ever train for people online?
Yes. Yep. Yeah, I do. I'd say there's a good mix now. I have a good amount. I'd say probably about 50% people who are just fully online. Um, I'll travel out to them if they do like a meet or something like that. Um, but mostly our coaching is done online. And then I have some hybrid people who I maybe see like between once a month and once a week. And then the rest of their coaching is online, delivering their programs, doing weekly check-ins with them. They send me lifting videos whenever they're training. And then I have a few people who are just in person. Um, they don't want the rest of the apparatus, so they come see me, get their workouts in. And some of those people have an online component too, where we're managing their nutrition. Um, but yeah, that's kind of how the clientele is stratified, I
Yeah.
guess.
Well, that was a great segue because that's what I wanted to talk about next. Every trainer I've ever had always said what you do outside of the gym is way more important than what you do inside the gym. So nutrition is the biggest thing. I want to talk about nutrition and what people should be. I know everybody's different. With all these things, I'm generalizing. I know protein is a huge thing, but you see all these diets like I'm going to cut out all my carbs. I've heard that is a horrible thing to do.
Mhm.
Your body needs carbs just as much as it needs protein. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, the body finds lots of ways to survive under different conditions. So, there's a thing called ketosis, which is what the keto diet is based off of. Um, Whether that's ideal or sustainable for a lot of people is another story.
Hmm.
And it tends to have a huge, there's massive recidivism, I guess you could say, of people going into keto and then coming back and losing all the results that they achieved on keto because that method of eating was not sustainable
Hmm.
for them. So that sucks. Why would you do that? When there's better ways to, change what you're doing. I think as far as eating in general, like a lot of people's mentality comes from like diet culture where it's all about eating as little as humanly possible.
Hmm.
And yet a lot of the people who they admire and who they want to look like are actually eating way more than they are.
Hmm.
Um, and I think most people, when it comes to stuff outside of the gym and the way that they behave, they tend to do like one piece of the puzzle and not the whole thing. So, some people might be really good at restricting their calories, restricting what they eat to lose weight, but then they stagnate because they haven't paid attention to how much they're moving. Um, and one of the big things, I'd say this is probably the best free fitness advice for the average person is if you are trying to restrict your eating and you are not paying attention to how much you're moving throughout the day, either through a Fitbit or some kind of step tracking or any method of measuring how much you're moving, you're doing yourself a disservice because the most common way that people get stagnated in their weight loss is they stop eating. And so their body naturally signals to them, their metabolism tells them, hey, asshole, stop moving around so much. We don't have enough resources. We can't sustain it. So
Yeah.
people end up becoming more sedentary because they're eating a lot less, even just in terms of like little movements, fidgeting, moving around their house. Um, they start moving a lot less, and then their efforts of restricting their calories are, come with diminishing returns.
Yeah.
So if you're going to try to embark on that journey, keeping your movement high and being able to eat the maximum amount that you can while still losing weight, the most nutritious food that you can while still being in a deficit, that should be the goal. Um, and it's tough because a lot of people don't want to do that.
Oh yeah.
They want to either just not eat, um, and they love it because they'll see it work for the first few weeks. They'll lose that easy 5 pounds in the beginning. They might even lose 10 pounds. And they're like, this is phenomenal. And then it stops and they don't know why. They get mad. And then they go back to just doing what they were doing.
Yep,
So,
they just give up.
yeah.
For me, I've no like the first year I lost so much weight. Then I slowed down a little bit. Then I stayed like that for a little while. Then I lost a little bit more. Then I slowed down a little bit. Now I've been pretty much about the same for the last like 7, 8 months, which I'm happy with this weight. So it's
Yep.
working out well. I'm just maintaining now and just making sure I'm saying. But I know that a lot of people always say, like you said, the ones that are like, oh yeah, eat less. But and you said a lot of people want who they want to look like eat more. I heard it's good to have like breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, dinner, snack, like so 6 meals a day or 6 things to eat. That's what I heard was good. I'm not sure if that's what you would recommend for people.
That is, we laugh in fitness because like, people again want these like hard and fast answers, and then everything boils down to like it depends.
Yeah.
Uh, if you can hit your nutrition targets in 6 meals, then you're in a great spot.
Yeah.
If that's, if it's a question of whether that's doing anything special for you, like if you ate the same amount of food in 4 meals, would it make a difference? Hard to say that it would. Um, I think, when it comes down to eating like 6 meals a day, someone like me who's on my feet all day, moving a lot with, working with clients and doing, 2 hour long powerlifting sessions, and then probably doing some cardio during the day. It's hard to eat as much as I need to in,
Hmm.
in 4 meals sometimes. So
Yeah.
having those snacks, having those shakes and something easy to eat like a granola bar is going to help me hit the nutrition that I need for the day. And so for me, it makes sense. For a lot of people trying to lose weight, if you're just nibbling on stuff all throughout the day, maybe you could fit in 6 meals. I think for a lot of people that would be pretty challenging.
Oh yeah. Now for me too, it's like with my schedule, not only I'm working my 8 or 9 hour job, but then I have other things that are going on, so I'm not home. So I mean, I could grab a power bar or something and eat while I'm in the car, which I do sometimes. But yeah, trying to
Yeah.
find the time to. I mean, it sounds great in theory, like you said, but because I've heard that it's sort of like just throwing a log on the fire, just keeps the metabolism going.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah. Um, mm,
I really okay. That's what I'm asking the expert.
the metabolism's going pretty much no matter what. Your basic basal metabolic rate is doing what it does regardless. It does a lot of its work while you're asleep. But in terms of the big, pie of how much energy you're burning, it's like this much of a swath is from exercise. Probably like this much is from the amount that you just walk around and move and fidget and go throughout your day, how much you talk, how much um, expire in terms of your breath. Um, all those things are a pretty big piece of the pie, but the biggest piece is just like existing.
Yeah.
So
If talking was the best diet, I should be 40 pounds because I love to talk. I should be starving right now.
well, Rich, you are in perpetual motion, and so I think that is definitely a contributor as to why you're so fit. Um, Definitely part of the puzzle.
Yeah, there's a couple more pieces to that puzzle than just talking. Well, in the intro, another thing I mentioned that you do, so you're a very, very busy man, and you showed me a movie that you were in. You played, I think it was a drug dealer. It was hilarious. You were really good at acting. So
Thank you.
there was after one time you said, Rich, I'm going to be playing a killer Santa. Why don't you come down and I can kill you on screen? I said, let's do this. I didn't even hang up the phone. I was already halfway to where guys were filming. So
Yeah, I know. I've never had such an easy time getting someone to act in a movie.
I loved it. So what was the name of the movie? The movie that you and I did together. It was you were the killer Santa.
That was Sugar Plum Fury.
Sugar Plum Fairy. What was great about that was I always tell people, I said, you never know where one door is going to open up another. Because of that one movie I did with you, I only had like a little part. It was funny because of whoever the director was, I know he's your friend. I forgot his name. Uh,
DJ.
DJ, yeah. He said, I think I improv line. He goes, hey, can you do something else? Can you do another line? I'm like, yeah, let's do this. I forgot what I said, but it was something to do with it was like it was a Merry Christmas line or something because it was a Christmas movie.
Uh,
But anyway, the guy there was a cameraman there, and he was like, "Man, you're hilarious. I'm doing another movie. Do you want to be a part of that?" So I was a part of that, and I did the movie with them. And like somebody else saw me, like, "Do you want to be a part of this?" So now the last thing I was in was a Halloween fan film, which I loved. I got to play the radio DJ, the part I was born to play. Didn't
that
even,
is the part you were born to play.
yeah. So that one role from you landed me like three other different chances to be on a movie. So thank you very much, John.
Listen, I hope it keeps rolling because you were born for the screen, Rich.
Oh, I love it. And so are you. So that you did that movie, and then you did the other one. I know you worked with the same crew. I heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you were going to be writing and directing something, or you wanted to write and direct something yourself.
Yeah, I would love to do that.
Do you have anything you're working on?
Well, DJ has another script that is, in the waiting in the can, um, ready to go. I have like the beginnings of a few different ideas of my own, but I have not fully fleshed them out.
Yeah.
Would love to, because there's people willing to be part of these little projects, and I think it's really fun.
Yeah, they're definitely fun. So you get your friends together. But you said there was it the next one you're doing with DJ, or was more of a serious movie? Is that the one?
Yeah, it is a little bit more serious. And I think down the road at some point we want to do something that's like a comedy, but a bit more grounded than like the usual fare of, Killer Santa or,
The
you
drug
know,
dealer.
yeah, yeah, kind of taking it to the next level of maturity, I guess.
So
Uh,
what would that include? What's I mean, can you talk about the next script?
well, which one? The one that it definitely exists?
Yeah, the one that definitely exists, or the one is that the one that you're going to take it to the next level where it's a little bit more serious?
Yes. Well, the one that he wants to make next, it's called Montpellier.
Ooh,
Um, and it's about a guy who is trying to reconnect with his, a past relationship, a ex-wife that he completely botched everything and screwed it up. And in almost like a dreamlike sequence, out of nowhere, she calls and invites him back into her life. And so he's on the way to do this. He thinks it's the thing to do. He runs into a young woman at a gas station on the way who is down and out and hitchhiking. And, he very reluctantly decides to give her a ride because she's going in the same direction as him. And she has other plans. When he finally, he doesn't really want to let her in and tell her what he's doing, but as soon as he reveals his plans, she has a different idea for him, thinking that this is a horrible idea to go back and reconnect with his ex-wife and go backwards in life, essentially. So
and are you the main character?
supposedly, if I get the role, then yes.
And the other thing is, did you help DJ write this, or are you helping him write this?
Mm-mm.
No?
He wrote it all on his own, as he does. I definitely gave some input, and there's some things that we definitely need to work on as far as the timing goes. Um, just as far as like unfolding the relationship between those two characters in the early stages, I think could use some work. Especially, one of the things that we workshopped was the plausibility of, in 2025 of a middle-aged man, agreeing to give some young weirdo a ride, halfway up the coast. Um, so there are some things in there that, my background as a former, as DJ's former creative writing teacher,
Hmm.
you know, helps me see the thing from an outside perspective and give some good feedback and some notes. But no, the generative effort comes all from him
Yeah.
on a lot of the scripts.
Did you ever enter these movies into different festivals?
I don't know if he has entered any of his past projects. In When I was teaching high school, I taught a screenwriting and advanced AV class along with another teacher who taught the AV side of it, and I taught the writing part of it. But invariably, we ended up, doing each other's jobs a little bit too.
Hmm.
And we did submit stuff to different contests, everything from like the DMV safety contest, make a video for the DMV, to little film festival projects. And we did produce some winners in that capacity.
You know what's funny? I interviewed Jeff Lederman. You might not know the name, but he did movies like Satan's Little Helper. He did a movie called Squirm that was really popular in the 70s. A lot of low budget horror movies. But he got
Yeah.
his start doing a PSA. It was all about the drug culture, and back in the late 60s, early 70s, that won a couple of awards, and his career skyrocketed from that. So just one little PSA that he did, because they said he was like a young kid, and he looked like one of the people that would know about drugs, and they had him direct it, and it was funny. So you never know, something like that. Put it to it's almost like it's all part, like the plans have to align, the right place, the right time, and also talent's involved too. All those things mixed together.
Yeah,
So
that'll do it.
yeah.
That'll do it.
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to it. So for right now, the best place people can see these, or the easiest place, is on YouTube. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
And does he have his own channel?
Hmm. Hmm. I believe it's called Tortoise and Mutt Studios.
I think, yeah, you're right. I'm pretty sure it's something like that. Anyways, I do remember seeing that. Tortoise and Mutt Studios, because I remember you had the premiere of it when it first came out.
Yeah.
So I watched it on my phone. I was laughing my ass off. It was funny.
A lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Well, speaking of movies, you and I always talk about movies because we have very similar taste in movies.
Yeah.
I want to talk about your top movies of 2024. I want your opinion on some of these. I'm going to start off with one. I want your opinion. I'm not sure if you saw this. Late Night with the Devil. That was one of my all-time favorites for this year. What was your opinion on that one?
Yeah. I did see it, and I would say that I love that movie for like 90% of it.
Wait, let me guess. You didn't like the end.
I did not like the end.
There's so many people that said that. I actually liked it,
Yeah.
but I was definitely in the minority with that one. Everybody I talked to said, "Oh, that ending sucked." I thought it was because when you're not sure if he's awake, if he's not awake, and how it ended, and like, oh. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I liked it, but yeah. So, but the rest of the movie you were happy with?
Very, very. I liked that. I am a big fan of the small encased thing, especially where actors get the chance to act. And I felt like there were some cool performances going on with that guy. Sid was that the character's name?
I
The
think so. I haven't seen it in a while, but I think what I liked about that movie was because they just kept it rolling. So it's basically a late night show based in the 70s. He's up against Johnny Carson, but it just keeps, after a while, you almost forget that they're actors. It's so real. Everything that's going on behind the scenes, everything that's going on the show. And after a while, you just lose yourself in the movie and say, oh shit. So
Yeah.
I love that era anyway. 70s are my all-time favorite era, like for movies, music, and things like that. So I just love the whole feel of the movie, and I thought the act. And sometimes I think it's better when you have unknown actors because it's easier to believe it for me because you don't see Tom Hanks on screen. You see like an actor playing a character, and you see the character instead of seeing the actor. I've had that happen.
Yeah, I definitely concur on all those fronts. I think maybe it also, when you watch a movie, it's one that I'd be willing to watch again.
Yeah.
And there's another one from 2024. I don't know if you're going to talk about it, but one that I'd be willing to watch again. Sometimes the stuff that you watch around it also influences your thoughts. And I watched a lot of movies that I felt had very could not resist the horror movie ending, the like cheesy horror movie ending where everybody dies.
Yeah.
And so I think I watched a little too many of those before seeing Late Night with the Devil, and it might have poisoned my view of the ending there.
Well, let's talk about the movie that you wanted to talk about. Which one was? Let's see if I saw it.
So probably the very last movie of 2024 was Nosferatu.
Okay, I wanted to talk about that because I did see that. And what's your opinion?
I watched the last few Robert Eggers movies and I was very impressed.
Yeah.
Felt like it, especially the earlier ones like The Witch and The Lighthouse. Like I left with a lot to think about. I left Nosferatu and I was like, yeah, that was a good looking movie, but
That's
nothing
exactly.
really left with me.
That's exactly what I said too. It was a beautifully shot film. The cinematography was great. The acting was superb. I mean, you gotta love what's his name? The one who played Pennywise. He played Nosferatu, but I forgot what his name is.
Bill Skarsgård.
Bill Skarsgård, and then Johnny Depp's daughter was. She's always good. And then so Willem Dafoe was great. The acting was great. I have no problem there. But just after a while, it was sort of like there was a lot of good moments, and then there's a couple good moments, and then a lot of all right, what's going on? And then it picks up again. I'm excited, and then just like they were in desperate need of an editor, in my opinion. It was just way too long, and I think that they could have done with a lot less and made it a much tighter, better movie.
Yeah, I agree. I
Yeah.
agree.
Okay.
Um, and again, I'm fully willing to admit there's a couple things. I saw it in the theater and it was packed, and there was like, people like eating nachos, which and like pizza, like a full pizza.
Yeah.
Like right in the row in front of me, there's just a fucking dude with this huge pizza box open, just like, and I'm like, this is so distracting. I'm like, you're gonna eat a saucy pizza during a vampire movie? Like that's fucking disgusting.
That's funny.
And then there's like, teenagers who snuck into the theater who are talking through the
Oh, and I
movie.
hate that. Yep.
There's a girl right next to me on her cell phone, just like shining it brightly in my face. At one point, I just leaned over and like looked at her phone until she got uncomfortable and left, which is pretty funny. But you know, maybe some of my viewing enjoyment was disrupted.
Yeah.
I also, might have viewed it as with expectations from other Robert Eggers movies of being a little bit more thought provoking, and maybe that was not the mentality to go into. Maybe just had to enjoy the panoply. And
Yeah.
I did think it was a very beautiful movie, but
Yeah. I agree with that. And I'm going to agree with you. And sometimes I see a movie and I'm just either tired or I'm not in the mood. And I see it again, I'm like, wow, this movie is actually really good. So maybe if I saw that again, and I think sometimes when a movie is so overhyped, I go in there already looking for flaws in it. And I hate doing
yeah,
that because I don't want to. Like, perfect example is, thank God I saw an opening day was the movie Parasite because I love that movie. The movie is phenomenal. And when I saw the trailer, I said, this trailer does everything a teaser trailer should do. It gave me no idea what is going on, what this movie is about. I have to see it. I ended up seeing it 3 times. Then it won all these awards: best foreign film, best picture of the year. I think maybe if I saw it afterwards, I'd be like, really, this is the best. This is really. I mean, and I don't mean to think like that but I think it might have clouded my judgment and made me a little bit more biased towards it without even meaning to.
it's really funny that you say that because I did the exact same thing. I walked into it out of nowhere at the Alamo Draft House in Yonkers.
Mhm.
I was just like, Parasite, that sounds like it might be like a gross horror movie. And I just went and saw it, and it turned out to be fucking an awesome, awesome film.
Yeah, and
I
that's
didn't even know
another
what it
great.
was.
Yeah, I saw the trailer and I still had no idea what it was. I knew the director because he did a couple other movies that I like,
Yeah.
and I said, well, he's never let me down, so let me check it out. And I did go, and I was blown away by how good it was. It was just nothing what I expected.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely pleasantly surprised on that one.
Another movie which I loved, and not a lot of people heard of it, is Honora. I don't know if you heard of that movie. It's about a Russian prostitute.
Oh yeah. I keep seeing trailers for it. I really want to see that one. I didn't see it yet.
That is great. I mean, it was I heard a little bit about it, but another one I had no idea what it was about this Russian prostitute. She meets this really rich kid who's a brat. He's rich because of his parents, but there's so much more to his story. It's funny, it's heartbreaking, it's sentimental, it's a drama, it's a comedy, it's got everything.
Yeah,
It's
yeah. That's on my list for
yeah.
sure.
Yeah. And one I think you and I talked about, and I love this movie, Strange Darling.
Yes. Yes.
That was it starts out with well actually it's sort of like in a Pulp Fiction type way where it starts out in chapter 3, then goes to chapter 5, then goes to chapter 1, so it's not in order, and I love that. And there's basically like, are you a serial killer? And the movie just goes batshit crazy from there, which I love. It's
Yep.
nothing what I expected either with that one. And it's got people like Barbara Hershey, Ed Begley Jr., and Giovanni Ribisi produced it, but he has a very small part. I almost didn't see it. He's in the hotel. I think it was a gunshot or something. Right around the Ed Begley part in Barbara Hershey. I think somewhere around there. He's in it for like a couple seconds.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't even notice.
Yeah. I almost didn't. My girlfriend goes, oh, there he is. I said, oh. And it was so quick.
Oh, wait, is he the one who comes out of the other hotel room?
Yes. That's him.
Yeah, okay, that was him. Okay.
Yeah.
Got
I
it.
wouldn't have recognized it happened so quickly, and she recognized him. I said, "Oh, 'cause I love him as an actor. I think he's really good, you know."
Yeah.
But that was a movie that took me by surprise. I'm like, because you never know what to expect. It's like, like I love horror movies, but a lot of them are just like, by the points, or like, connect the dots. They're all the same for the most part. But this one was completely different, and
Yes.
I really wouldn't even consider it a horror movie. It's just
Yeah, I guess it falls in that thriller genre,
yeah.
but for anybody who hasn't seen it, and this is what my girlfriend said when she saw it, like the final scene, just based on the physicality of the performance,
Hmm.
is like legitimately horrifying.
Yes, that is true.
It really leaves you with like an ick. So I won't say more than that,
Yeah,
but
no, you've said enough. And this is
yes.
sort of like the Parasite trailer. It leaves you wanting more. It leaves you wanting to see it.
Yeah, yeah. I gotta say, in terms of 2024
Yep.
was the year of like very physical female performances in movies,
Hmm.
like intensely physical. Lily Rose Depp in Nosferatu,
Yep.
like crazy physicality, like
Yeah.
moving like she really was possessed by something. Ella Fitzgerald, Ella Fitzgerald.
She does. I was going to mention her. She was great. She's always phenomenal anyway.
Sorry, Willa Fitzgerald, in Strange Darling, in that, especially in that final scene. And then that actor, I can't remember her name, the one who was in Love Lies Bleeding,
Oh my God, I know who you're talking about. I can't
the
can't
one
think
who
of her
plays
name.
the bodybuilder.
Yeah, I can't think of it. I know you're. I could picture her too.
I haven't seen her in as many things, so I can't remember her name, but like she was fantastic. Just
Yeah.
the working out scenes, the posing scenes, the other scenes, very, very physical, very awesome
You're
performance.
right. What 2024 was the year of the woman.
Mhm. Yeah.
I said the same thing the year I Spit on Your Grave came out, but that's another story.
Going along with the same theme, did you see The Substance?
Yes, I was going to bring that up. I love that movie because, again, I had no idea. I know the premise. She
Yeah.
wanted to become younger. She's older, but where that movie went, like, holy shit. And then that ending. That's another one. The ending is like, what the hell is this? I,
Yeah.
I was laughing so hard. This is great.
It was fantastic. It's literally, they like, if there was like a dial for like, fucked up Cronenberg body horror,
Yes, that's
it's
what I
like they
think.
turned it up. They turned it to the 10 setting, they turned it to 11, and then they broke the knob off and turned it to like 14 for the ending. It was just so bananas.
Oh man, and I'm so glad. Demi Moore won the Golden Globe, and that was the first time she ever won an award for anything. I was so happy that they acknowledged it because usually movies like that, never get the respect they deserve. Never, they're basically ignored. So the fact that she won for that, I was so happy for because she was phenomenal in that movie. And even little
Was.
roles like Dennis Quaid, he was hilarious as the guy. I after seeing, I usually do this whenever I like a movie. I looked at the director and I go and watch everything from that director. So I watched another movie. It's called Revenge it's a woman that directed it, which I think is funny because everybody's like, "Oh, this movie is so sexist." I was like, it was actually written by and directed by a woman.
Mm.
And but the movie Revenge is basically like I Spit on Your Grave, where she's an actress, she gets brutally raped, and then she just gets revenge on all of them. It's a great movie, and she has that same style with the close up, people chewing, the way with Dennis Quaid was chewing. She does a lot of that, and I just like her style. I want to check out some more of her movies when I'm going to keep an eye on her for future releases.
Yeah. What do you know what else she's done?
Revenge is definitely one of them. I can't remember the other one. I'd have to look it up. I'll send it to you afterwards.
Yeah, it sounds familiar. I'm wondering if I've heard of any of the other ones, but check it out for sure.
There was one movie, I'm bringing this up because I like the Dutch version better. But James McAvoy did a phenomenal job in Speak No Evil. He was great. He's always a great actor. I mean, in Split, he was great. In this movie, he was great. The reason I'm saying this because the original version, I don't know if you saw that.
No, I haven't.
All right. Did you see I'm talking about the movie Speak No Evil for people who don't know what I'm talking about. But did you watch the American version?
Nope.
Okay, so you're not really missing anything with the American version. But in the one thing I always say is like American American producers are pussies. They will never ever go with the realistic ending. They'll never go with the down ending. They always have to like have people walking away happily into the sunset. And when this in the original Dutch version, it ends on such a morbid note, like, oh my God, this is it. And I'm waiting for something else to happen. And no, that's it. And when this movie, the American version was going there, I said, there's no way, it's no way. It's going to take a left turn. After about 2/3 of the movie, took the left turn that I thought it was going to take, and then that was it. But James McAvoy, just watch the movie for him alone because he did another Oscar-winning performance, I think.
Wow. Okay. We were very close. It was between that and The Substance, and we picked The Substance. So.
Yeah, you picked the right one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you ever watch it, because do you have Shudder?
Yes.
All right, the original was on Shudder, so I watched it one night, and I said I got to check out the American version. So I watched it the next day to compare it, and it's a good movie, but it's an American movie.
Sure. Sure.
That's why I love this one. Sorry for interrupting you. I want to bring up Mist. Do you remember Stephen King's The Mist, the movie? Did you ever see that? Right. When I was walking into the theater, I heard people walking out, what the fuck? I can't fucking believe this. I'm saying, what is going on here? Then I saw the movie and I saw the ending. I said, this is great. I actually stood up and clapped. I said, this is, but even Stephen King says, I don't think I would go that dark. Because in the novel or the novella, they're basically driving through the mist and all the monsters are around and it just never ends. But in the movie, it ends on a note, but a down note. But I loved it because it was realistic. I'm like, he was trying to protect his kids, his family, and then they're like, all right, everything's fine. No, I love.
Yeah, great film. Great film. I don't know if you saw this one. It's actually from 2023, but we just watched it recently. It's called Red Rooms.
No, I have to check that out.
Yeah, we had to rent it on, one of those services, Amazon or whatever.
Yeah.
It's worth watching. It is chilling in a way that it's a Canadian film. Chilling in a way that few films that I've seen have really like given me the ick. And it has that aspect of, it's not gory, it's not bloody. There's suggestions of a lot of really horrible stuff happening, but it's this voyeuristic perspective of watching someone observe a murder trial and the stuff surrounding it, and just how absolutely morally empty and bankrupt some of the characters are. It's makes for quite a film.
Right, Red Rooms. I'm definitely going to be watching that very soon. When I do, I'm going to let you know what I think.
Yeah, we got to talk about that one.
Oh yeah. Well, as you know, most of the people who watch this show know I have another show called Real Talk. I definitely will that's one I'll watch and we'll come on here and talk about that.
Love it.
You and I talked about this off the air, and I don't know if it was one of the best movies of the year, but I did enjoy it. It was Nicolas Cage in Longlegs. I thought
Yeah,
it was, that was a really good, and I thought his performance was off the wall. I mean, I always liked him as an actor. I think he's underrated because the problem is he wasted all his money buying castles. So now he's basically doing anything he can do to get that money back. So he makes a lot of shitty movies, but when he makes a good movie, he's really good.
yeah. I like when you're basically contracted by the IRS to make movies. It's a really good model for success.
Yeah,
You have to pay your fucking taxes, so you got to just keep making anything. And he's some people would say he's a broken clock that's strikes right twice a day.
yeah,
But I've seen him in a bunch of stuff that I thought he was really good in. And yeah, Longlegs had that cool rock and roll vibe.
yeah.
It was real weird. And
I love weird.
that's one of those movies. It's one of the few movies I've watched twice in the year that it came out.
Mhm.
Um, but I did see it twice, and I appreciate it even more because you can never recreate the first time seeing it.
Mhm.
And I just love movies like that.
Oh yeah. I
Seeing
only
it
saw it
for the
once,
first
but I
time, yeah, such a sense of dread. My jaw was on the floor at certain points. It's really good.
yeah. One movie I'm not sure if you saw. The only reason I saw it is because I interviewed the producer, director, writer, and actor for another movie. He's part of the Terrifier group, so he wrote and directed a movie called Stream, which only came out for one weekend for some reason, but it's a great movie. It's got Daniel Roebuck, Dee Wallace, Jeffrey Combs, Tim Reed. I'm trying to think who else. Danielle Harris. So it's got a lot of people that were huge stars in the '90s, and Dee Wallace and
Oh,
these.
Stream or Street?
Stream, Stream. It's they're at a hotel and these people are just killing them. And I had a chance to interview not only the director and writer and actor, but also one of the killers. Her name is Liana Parala. She was great. She had a small role in that movie, but she's done so much more besides that. But yeah, it's called Stream.
Yeah, cool. I love this cast.
Yeah, it's and they're all used to the best of their ability. It's not one of those like, oh, let me have a little cameo right here. I mean, there are a couple. Now that I said that, I'm just gonna say there was one or two, but that's because Tim Curry's in it, and I'm sure he had a massive stroke. I think he died recently, but he was always a huge fan of the director's always a huge fan of Tim Curry, and he's used him in another movie, so they put him in there. But so other than that, these actors they're great. The movie is great. It moves along. It's funny. There's a lot of people who like blood and gore. They're gonna love this.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And
Definitely also on my list.
yeah. So speaking of that, are you a fan of the Terrifier series?
I saw the first one. I
Okay.
haven't caught up since
All right.
then.
See, the funny thing is I saw the first one. I saw the third one recently, but the second one was my favorite. That's
Yeah.
when that's when I said, well, first I didn't see the first one at first because at first was Howl's Eve was it was a like a compilation movie or whatever you want to call it, like anthology. So then I didn't see that. Terrifier 1 I never even heard of that at first. And I went to Terrifier 2, was all this coverage and everybody's like talking about it. I said, let me see. I got there. There was only one seat left. I got that seat. I was way in the front. I said, holy shit. I ended up seeing it 3 more times. Then I became a fan. And I interviewed a actor and she was in one of his movies. So she got the setup where I was able to interview him. But that movie was great. We were talking about it saying like, he filmed that movie during COVID. So there's so many scenes where they weren't doing anything. They couldn't do anything. So they were saying, how can we make these kills creative? How can we make this so over the top? So it's like, it's done in a funny way. Like it's Art the Clown. I think he's like one of the new phenom, like, you had Michael Myers and Jason in the past. Art is like now the main guy for the new millennium.
Yep. He's honestly like, without having even seen Terrifier 3, like I like it because it's for a horror movie to make that much money
Yes.
and to make it just so mainstream and to, it's like recapturing the feeling, and I'm 100% behind that. So
Oh yeah.
I will get to it eventually, but that was another one where I was like, I think I'm gonna like this movie a lot, but I don't want to be in the midst of the hype when I see it.
Yep. Nope. You and I have the same mentality when it came to that. If anything, when you do watch all of these, I want your opinion because to me, part two is the best. It's just so over the top. It's fun, and like part three has a little bit more of a story to it. And after a while, I'm like, I really don't care about this. I just want to get to the
I want the gore.
yeah. But the funny thing is normal. For me, I love character development. I love a slow burn. But I don't know, for some reason, it's just that didn't work for me in that movie. But
Yeah,
like the
you
per
you knew what you knew what you paid the ticket for, you
yeah,
know. Yeah.
exactly. Like perfect example for me is The Shining. I love The Shining because it's such a slow, steady burn and just goes up. And I mean, even though Jack Nicholson looks crazy from the first scene, he looks insane, but it's just going and going. And then finally, the last 40 minutes or so. And that's why I love what Siskel and Ebert, when they had their show, they said the last good movie was made back in the 70s. And Roger Ebert said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Because back then that was before CGI, and you had to actually rely on good acting and good stories to get a good movie out. Now it's like, let's see how many explosions we can have. Let's see how much blood and guts we can have." And I think both those things have their place, but I think for me, the first time I ever noticed that was when Twister came out, the original. It was like, oh, there's one. Oh, wait, there's a bigger one. Oh, there's another one. It's like, this movie sucks. I don't care about the Twister. I want to see a story.
Yeah, Twister is really like that's like the splitting off point of my taste in movies with a lot of people. Like
Yeah.
people who like Twister and those kind of like blockbuster movies, and then that's really where I diverge away from
Yeah.
uh, a lot of people. I'm like, that movie sucks. And there's so many people who remember it so fondly. I'm like, oh God. And when they had this recent one, like Twisters, I was like,
Oh,
oh my God, who cares?
that's funny you said that. That was exactly my opinion. It's like, what are you excited about this movie? The first one sucked. If it's anything like the first one, there's no way I'm going to see that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I said the same thing too. And I said that was one of the first times I remember when CGI just started coming out and people being used in movies, and it was done. So it's like all they really cared about was what the Twister looked like. There was no story. The acting was horrible. It's just there was nothing good. And I'm the same as you. For the most part, I hate the big blockbusters for that reason, just because there's really nothing to it. They just want asses in the seats. They're not worried about a good story. They're not worried about good act. Just like, all right, let's get people in there. Let's make our money and let's get the hell out of here.
Yep. Yep. And I'm not I'm not gonna yuck somebody's yum in terms of
Yeah.
like my mom, like she'll be she'll ask about a movie. She'll be like, "Does it have good special effects?" I understand, like, some people that's more their vibe of going to a movie is like the spectacle.
Yeah.
And so I'm not against people who want to go to a movie and see like a crazy looking tornado or whatever, but could not give a shit less as far as what makes a movie for me. That is low on the list.
Yeah. Well, one movie that was high on the list for me is I don't know if you saw this. It wasn't for some reason. I have no idea why it wasn't in the theater for long. It's already on HBO Max. It was directed by Clint Eastwood. Juror Number Two. Did you see that one?
No.
Oh, it's a great movie. It's about this guy, and it has Tony Collette is one of the people in there, and has some other actors that I can't remember by name, but if you saw them, like, oh, I know that guy. But he goes to jury duty, and he's an alcoholic, and in the court case that he's on jury duty for, a boyfriend killed his girlfriend and just dumped her body inside the road. And as he's listening, he goes, "Wait a minute. I was at the bar not too long ago, and I remember I thought it was a deer I hit, but maybe it was her. That's right where I was driving." So then he realizes that he killed her, and now his whole thing is like, should I say anything or should I be quiet? Should I let that guy go to jail for nothing for killing his girlfriend, or should I confess and say, no, I'm the murderer? It's a great movie.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, that is intense. I dig it.
yeah.
I dig it.
And the funny thing is with Clint Eastwood, I interviewed an actor that was in three of his movies, and he said that Clint Eastwood is like one take done. He goes, he wants everything genuine. He doesn't want it to seem overacted. He goes, you know your part, just do it and let's move on.
Yes.
And every movie that I've seen him direct has been great. I think. I mean, the only one that's funny, the only one I really didn't like was and I loved the play was the one about Frankie Valli. I can't remember Jersey Boys. The
Yep.
movie was horrible. I thought
Yeah.
the play on Broadway was great. I'm up there singing, dancing, but when I saw the movie, I'm like, just the acting really wasn't that good. It just, I don't know. But other than that, every movie he's done, I loved.
Yeah. I'll have to watch that. Maybe that'll be one I watch with my dad because he's a big Clint Eastwood guy.
Oh yeah. Did so the two other movies that I didn't see, I'm not sure if you did. I wanted your opinion. Was The Joker and Alien Romulus. Did you see those?
No, I avoided both of those.
Okay. So did I.
Um,
Out of curiosity, did want to see The Joker because I loved the first one. I think Joaquin Phoenix is a great actor, and
yeah.
but I did want to see that. And I know it got a lot of shit for having songs in the movie. I don't really care about that. I like music. I like musicals, so I don't think that that part would bother me. But I don't know.
That's a movie that I will literally only watch with you. I'm not watching it under any other circumstances.
Okay.
I will watch it with you for the laughs, but I'm not doing it otherwise. Um, I've got a few on my list here.
All right,
I
go
saw
ahead.
this. If you haven't watched it, I think it's still on Shudder. A movie called Arcadian.
I've heard of it. I've seen it on Shutter. I haven't seen it though. That's a good
Yeah,
movie.
Nicolas Cage movie.
Yep.
You know, definitely no long legs,
Mm.
but it's got a fine story that goes through it, and the big selling point is like very unique, very creepy monster design.
Oh, very cool. I
Yes.
definitely have to check that out. I heard Infested was really good. Have you seen that one? It's all
No,
about spiders. I don't know. It's on Shutter, but people keep telling me to watch that one. That's really good. So I haven't checked that out yet.
sweet. That's going on the list. Give me a second. Infested?
Infested, yeah.
Sweet.
And there's one movie since you mentioned Shutter. I can't remember the name, but I have to look it up. About this guy that he pretends he heals possessed people. He has a local cable show, and he just does it for fun. And his actor calls in sick, so he tells his friend's girlfriend to be a part of it. And let's just say everything goes batshit crazy after that because when he thinks that she's acting, she's not really acting. She's really possessed. That's
Wow.
another really good movie. I'll get you the name of it. I saw that over the summer, and it just came to mind right now, so I don't remember the name of it. But that's another one on Shutter.
Sweet. Um, yeah, that sounds really good. Kind of sounds a little similar to Late Night with the Devil.
Yeah, a little bit, but
A little bit.
it is. But on this movie I'm talking about, where he is pretending to be a healer. He's pretending like so the. In the Late Night with the Devil, the woman said, "No, no, I'm really helping her out. I don't want to take advantage of her. I don't want her to do it." So that was she already knew that was she was really possessed. And this one, he thought it was just all a joke, and he just wanted to get some money, and he wanted to get more viewers. That's what it was. He wanted to get as many subscribers as he could.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. I saw one called The Devil's Bath that came out in 2024.
Oh, really? So I missed a lot. Is this another Shutter movie, or is it on?
I think that one might be on Shudder.
Okay. Yeah, I have to start watching. I love Shudder. I just really haven't watched that channel as much lately, but I gotta get back to it because there's so many movies I go on, and Arcadian was one of them. I save it and then I forget about it.
Yeah, so The Devil's Bath, I'd say the first 2 minutes of the movie, somebody throws a baby off of a waterfall.
Oh
And
man.
that is the least depressing thing that happens in the movie. So,
Wow.
it's all downhill from there. All downhill. Um, crazy, crazy movie.
I love those kinds. Those are my favorite kinds of movies.
Yeah. And then I'd say the last one that I have that, well, there's a couple that maybe are worthy of note, but one that's super unique that you might not have caught, a movie called Exuma.
No, I
I'm pretty sure it's Korean movie, and it's super, super unique. I haven't seen anything that's quite like it. But it involves a lot of like, cultural like ghosts, kind of like, the equivalent of almost like Japanese yokai, like
hmm
um, souls not at rest. But yeah, it's basically about like a family of um, exorcists more or less.
I like it.
And they exhume a grave on a hilltop, and then chaos begins to ensue after that. But
Yeah.
worth
I,
watching, if for no other reason than just how unique it is.
yeah. I'm a huge fan of foreign movies, Korean movies, Japanese movies, Italian movies. It's just because they're not afraid, as I mentioned before, not afraid to go with the realistic ending, not afraid to maybe offend somebody. It's just that they're a lot more braver with their creativity, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Not the same kinds of like boardroom standards, it doesn't seem like.
Exactly, because I
Not
think
as predictable.
that's the best way to put it because everything with like movies, TV lately, it's like, oh, we have to be predictable. This is what the audience wants. This is what the audience likes. Like we actually, if you gave us a chance, we would like to see something different once in a while.
Yep. Yep. Um,
Are you a fan of Kevin Smith?
Sometimes.
Okay, the reason I'm asking because like his latest movie came out, I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, what was
Um,
it?
like that's no, I can't remember. Let me look it up really quick. The reason I just saw it was on it's funny. There's one video store in Connecticut. I don't know if you ever heard of Hamden Best Video.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, so I go there all the time, and I get these movies that either never because that's where I get a lot of the foreign movies. But also that movie was there because it really didn't play in Connecticut at all. But you have your computer, so you probably know the name of it. It's about this kid who goes to the movies all the time. Then he meets a girl and he falls in love with her. But it's really funny movie.
Let me look. Let's see. Director.
Yeah, it was his last movie.
The 430 movie?
Yes, that's it. The
That's
4:30.
what it was called? Okay.
Yeah, that's it. Because he keeps trying to make a date with her and go to the 4:30 movie, and there's so much shit that happens in between that to finally go see the movie with her. But I, th- if you're even a little bit of a fan of him, I think you'd like that movie. And then
Cool.
he brings back all his old regulars, like all the main actors that were in his other movies, like yeah, I'm trying to think, like Dogma, the Clerks movies, the Jay and Silent Bob.
Okay, yeah, I'm seeing Ken Jeong here as a new face. Is that him?
That I'm not sure which one he was, but the name doesn't sound familiar. But I wonder if he was the main actor.
No. He's wearing a brown suit and screaming in this photo.
Okay, so that's not him.
Okay. Okay.
Anyway, I thought that was another movie I saw that if you like Kevin Smith, you would probably like this movie. But
Cool.
yeah. All
Oh
right,
yeah.
well, it's almost 9 o'clock. I know you have to go soon, but I did
Yes.
want to go over music a little bit because you and I
Yeah.
have so many similar tastes, or we have very similar tastes in music, and you and I usually talk about the punk and metal a lot. Which I mean, I love all types of music, just like I know you do too. It's funny because people will look at my playlist. I'll go from Mozart to King Diamond to ABBA to Barry Manilow to Slayer to Fear to Bad Brains. I mean, I'm all over the place. And somebody goes, "What the hell are you listening to?"
Can't be predicted,
No, exactly. I remember when I was in radio, there was a during the week. Unfortunately, they had syndicated shows, so I had to do board. I was a board tech on the weekend. I got to have my own show. So during the week, I would just bring a book, and my program director came up to me. He goes, "You have the most eclectic taste." I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "You're wearing a Clockwork Orange shirt. You're reading a biography of Mozart, and you're listening to oldies." I love this. He goes, "I never met anybody like you."
It's true. You're one of a kind.
But I want to talk about because some of the I know you're probably about 20 years younger than me. I'm 56. So a lot of the bands that I'm going to mention, they were well, they were a little bit popular before, even when I was younger, but more around my time. Like, and the reason I bring this up because I just met him, I'm trying to get him on the show, Lee Ving, who's an actor in tons of movies like Streets of Fire, Clue, but he was the lead singer of the band Fear. Are
Oh
you,
yeah.
yeah, I don't know if you're a fan of them.
I am for sure.
Yeah, that's what I thought, yeah.
That song "I Don't Care About You" is one of my favorites.
Yes. And New
There's a
York's all right
great
if you like saxophones.
there's a great cover of it too, by a band. I guess you'd call them like a hardcore band. power violence band called Despise You.
Oh,
Yep. And their version of it, they just call it Fear's Song, but it's a very good cover.
I gotta check that out because I love Fear, and it's funny because as you know, I go to these conventions, and he was at the last Chiller convention. I said I gotta have. We were talking about all these different things, and I was talking to him about the I don't know if you know about the Saturday Night Live mishap where he went on there, and John Belushi was a huge Fair fan, so he says, "Ah, come on down, you can play." And Donald Pleasance hosted that night, and they never showed it again because all his punk friends came down, like John Joseph from the Cro-Mags, all these other people, and they're stage diving, they're trashing the place. They cost so many thousands of dollars back in 70, whatever, it was 76, 77, that they said we were never ever airing this episode again. You can find that on YouTube.
That's great.
Yeah.
That is fantastic.
And the next band I'm going to bring up is because I'm actually seeing the singer, former singer of this band tomorrow at Cafe 9, HR from the Bad Brains.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
That's cool.
so I love reggae, I love ska, I love punk, and they're a mixture of everything.
It's classic.
All right, so are you a Henry Rollins fan?
I'm gonna answer that again with sometimes.
Okay. Me personally, I like his spoken word more than I like his singing, but
Yeah, yeah. He's got, he's got some good tracks scattered throughout.
yeah,
He's more of like a cultural icon than I can relate to any one thing that he ever made. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
Like his reputation sort of outshines his body of work, in my opinion.
Yep, no, I know what you're saying, but I have a lot of respect for him because he came, he's working at an ice cream shop, whatever, and then he just took off in the like that. I don't know if you've read or I have the CDs actually of they were cassettes originally, and I bought them on CDs. Get in the van, it's Life with Black Flag, and it just basically tells this whole. But going from that to forming his own production company, I mean, publishing company, putting out different records, doing spoken word, acting in movies. Even he goes, I have no talent. He goes, but I just keep saying yes to everything. I'm gonna. So I have a lot of respect for him that he got from where he was to where he is now, even if you don't like him.
I definitely am of the same mentality to say yes to a lot of things.
Yep.
And Henry Rollins got fucking jacked, and he's
Yep.
got that great quote it's on a poster in my gym actually that says, I can't remember exactly what it says, but it's like, no matter how you feel, 200 pounds is always 200 pounds.
Ah, I like that.
Yeah.
Well, there was he has a whole thing. He wrote an article about. I think it was in one of his early books where how weightlifting saved his life. He said
Yeah.
that he was being bullied all the time, and he said this one teacher took interest in him because his parents ignored him. Nobody really liked him, and he said start lifting, and he said that's what put him on the path to where he is now. Because he said wait, and he has a whole thing about how weightlifting saved him.
I found the quote. It says, friends may come and go, but 200 pounds is always 200 pounds.
I like that.
Well said. Well said, Henry.
So speaking of punk, I just saw that HR is going to be opening up for the Dead Kennedy, not tomorrow, but they're going to be Dead Kennedys are going on tour. I'm not sure if Jello Biafra is even in the band anymore because there's a whole big lawsuit where he sued them over the name. So to me, Dead Kennedys without Jello Biafra is not Dead Kennedys, but
No. Yeah, that's his name is synonymous with Dead Kennedy as far as I'm concerned.
oh, exactly.
So,
Who are some of the bands? I mean, that doesn't have to be punk. I'm just going with punk bands because I know you and I talk about this a lot off the air. So, who are some of the bands that are your favorites?
um, well, that's a tough one. Um, I'm a huge fan. I just saw them recently in Hamden at the Space. There's a Japanese band called Boris.
Oh, I missed that because I love this. I go there all the time. I love the
Oh,
space.
well, I'm sorry I missed you.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, I didn't
but
go to that show, but
they're a good band and they're a cool band, especially if you have an expansive taste in music, because they've played almost every genre from like drone to hardcore to like J-pop music. Like they really have run the gamut in terms of it's really they come in, it seems like they come in or they come together as a band and they just make whatever it is they want to make at that time.
I
And
love that.
they give not a single shit. Even in shows, like you never really, I mean, sometimes they're going to play specific albums, but I've been to shows where people are like, I don't know, I love Boris, I don't know a single one of these fucking songs that they played. So they very much just do their own thing, and that is rare. That is rare.
Oh yeah.
Usually you're getting the greatest hits set list, and they don't do that.
See, I love that because you hear all these when somebody another example used between other countries in America. It was American bands. Somebody wants to step out of their comfort zone, try something different, and the fans, oh my God, you sold out! Oh my, I can't believe you're doing this. It's like,
Yep.
what you? They're not even if it's the same band. If they want to grow a little bit and try something different, fans will just jump all over them and say, I can't believe that. They're not good anymore. They suck. What? Just because it's not the same song they've been playing for the last 12 years.
Yeah, that's lame.
Yeah,
That
I
is,
hate that. So I love that. I love the story you just told me. I gotta check them out.
yeah, they're worth it. They're really worth it. Especially, if you don't like everything, you're gonna find something that you like out of their stuff.
Hmm.
They're groovy.
If you could, when you have a chance after this interview is over, send me a link. 'Cause I want to. I'm not going to remember the name, but I want to listen to them.
Yeah, I will.
Yep. One band, which I don't think they're really great. They're a fun band, but the reason I'm bringing this up is because you said that you might, Jimmy Gestapo, or somebody that knows Jimmy Gestapo. I would love to get an interview with him. I'm growing up, like in my 20s, I used to see Murphy's Law all the time. They were
Yeah.
just a fun band. They suck, but their
Right.
songs are fun. The first two albums are great. Back with the Bong and I forgot I think the first one was just called Murphy's Law, but they
Yeah.
had so many, and they actually had the guitar player from the band Fair, so there was a lot of good stuff. And believe it or not, I know he's still touring, which I can't remember the last time he came out with an album. They're still playing the same 12 songs they have.
Yeah, I did have a friend who played in a band, who played in Murphy's Law, uh, and it was a lot of fun. And it was exactly that, just
Yeah,
drinking beers and playing the songs badly
yeah.
a lot of times. And what's better than that?
I remember I saw them so many times that people used to say, "Are you friends with him?" I said, "What do you mean?" I said, "He's always messing with you." Because one time I jumped up on stage, and all of a sudden he goes like this. The song ended, and you must dive into the pit of hell. And he just picked me up and threw me. Then another time I sitting on stage trying to tie my shoe, and he goes, dude, I'm trying to do a show here. Can you tie it over there? Then he took a bear ball and threw it dead, hit me in the head, went flying. He loved messing with me. And like every show, there was something he would do. He'd like point me out and do something. But it was always a good because I don't know if you were old enough or were in this area for the Anthrax. It was a club in Norwalk.
No, I don't think I've ever been there.
Oh my God, it was such a great. It was this little warehouse, but they had Rollins, they had Black Flag, they had. I saw Ludacris there. I saw Danzig. I'm trying to think who else I saw. There was so many great bands there. And Murphy's Law they were like the main. I mean, it was so packed. It was always sold out. I would have to go in there, and like one time I said, because I knew the owners, I said, my brother's in there. Can I just tell him that since it's sold out, I can't. I have to leave. Oh yeah, no problems. And I just go in there and start moshing.
Who's going to stop you at that point? Once the tornado's going.
Oh, yeah. Well, they couldn't find me after that, so it was
Yeah.
perfect.
Really? They couldn't find you?
Well, I think at that time I was passed out too. So I was drinking a lot in the parking lot. I said I can't get in, so my friends and I were drinking in the parking lot.
There you
I'm a
go.
little worried about this. It says you hit something that says recording. I'm hoping it's still recording.
What did I hit?
I don't know. I saw something pop up on your. Let me see something.
Oh, it's still recording. I sent you a link in the chat.
Okay, but then I see it says there's the pause button for recording. That's what I was a little worried about. But okay, as long as it's still going, I don't care.
Yeah, the red light's still there, so I think we're in business.
Okay, because I saw the point. So, all right. So, are you still friends with that person? Does he still play in Murphy's Law?
No, he doesn't anymore. He moved out to Tennessee, I think, like Nashville.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did he still play music or in bands?
I don't know if he's in a band right now. He was also in a band called Chud in New York City.
Oh,
But I don't know what he's doing now, to be honest. I'll have to reconnect with him. Him and his girlfriend bought motorcycles and they rode out to Nashville and they live there now. So
all right.
That's the kind of guy we're talking about.
Another one. I don't know if you were fans of him, but I'm going to be interviewing him next Thursday. I was a huge fan of the band Raven. It's an
Oh,
'80s.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
He
The
was,
guys who wore like the football gear.
yes, where it was Rob Wacko Hunter. That was the drummer.
Oh my God.
So I watched this show on YouTube called Metal Mythos and Metal School. Those are two different shows. And I said, well, let me see if I can find him on Facebook. I found him, the singer and bassist on Facebook, messaged him within 10 minutes. Yeah, let's do it, dude. I said, okay. So I sent him a link, and we're going to be recording next Thursday.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
Now, what about King Diamond? Are you a fan of him?
Yes, big
Yeah.
time.
All right. I reached out to his label, and they did get back to me today. They said he's recording a new album. We'll see if he's doing interviews after the new album comes out. So I'm just going to keep on harassing them because even my brother goes, I love your tenacity. You don't give up. I said, no, I don't. I will get that fucking interview.
That's the way to be.
Yeah, I've always been a fan of him since Merciful Fate days
Yes,
because I know he's definitely an acquired taste.
for sure. You have to make sure none of the glass in your house is going to break before you put his albums on.
What I like about him is that, especially like when Merciful Fate was more about the Satan and church stuff. Which, if you listen to his beliefs, I love what he believes. He just hates organized religion. He believes there's a God. But he just hates. And I have the same mentality. But with King Diamond Band, I love because they were a lot of more concept albums. Like I loved Abigail, and I
Yeah.
love the story. But I always say those stories would make great movies.
Yeah, I know. I feel like that might be my favorite one.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, Abigail Conspiracy, Abigail 2. There's a lot of good ones, but Abigail was probably that was his peak, and that was probably my all-time favorite too.
Hell yeah.
Have you ever seen him live?
Yes, a long time ago.
Yeah,
Maybe 15 years ago now, but yes.
it's funny 'cause I've seen him probably about 8 or 9 times over the years. I've seen him in New York. I've seen him in Toad's Place. The best time I ever saw him was in '86 in Brantford. There was this small club called Sneakers, and it was Blessed Death, Murphy, no, St. Murphy's Law. Megadeth was the Dave Mustaine just got kicked out of Metallica,
Oh
and
wow.
he goes like this. He goes, "Yeah, this is a song off an album. It's not out yet. It's called Peace Sells, but who's buying? Should be coming out soon." So it was brand new. Killing Is My Business and Business Is Good just came out,
Yeah,
and King Diamond headlined it. It was a great show.
that is, yeah, I wish I could have been there,
Yeah,
honestly.
yeah. You would have liked it.
Yeah, it's a kick-ass show.
Yep. Well, it's already past 9. I know you want to go. Are there any other bands you want to talk about? Since the Japanese band, I know you sent me the link. I got to check that out.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I mean, obviously I've got some personal favorites.
Who would that be?
That punk band Blitz Kid, horror punk band. I always put them over because I think they're great guys and great musicians, and they're a lot of fun. They sound a little bit like the Misfits, but I honestly think, with the exception of the very beginning of the Misfits catalog,
Yeah.
I think they're better than all the rest of it.
Yeah.
And they definitely have transcended into their own thing. And the bassist, and he does vocals too. His name's Argyle Goolsby.
Mhm.
He has tattooed me, but he also owns a place in Plainville, very
Oh,
cool Connecticut gem called the Witch's Dungeon.
wait. The Witch's Dungeon, Cortland Hall, that place. It's a
Yep.
museum. Yeah. So wait, who is this now?
Argyle Goolsby.
And he works at Witch's Dungeon.
No, he owns it now. Cortland sold it to him.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, but
Okay.
Cortland still works there and still does tours and stuff.
Oh, wow. Okay. I have to check that because I haven't been there in a couple of years. I used to go there all the time. Throughout the years, I've met Victoria Price. I met Bela Lugosi Jr. there. I met Sarah Karloff. That's where I became friends with Daniel Roebuck. I went to Chile. He goes, "Oh, I remember you from Witch's Dungeon." So, I love that place.
Yeah, we went there last Christmas to take the tour, and I went to show some friends. So it was pretty sweet.
And he's in a band. The guy
Yeah,
that-
he's in a few bands. He plays in another horror punk band called Calabrese, but um I guess you'd call it his main band is called Blitzkid.
All right, I'm gonna check that out. There's a couple bands you've sent me over to the last year or so that I listened to and I love them. I'm not sure if that was one of them, but I
Yeah.
remember you did send me some bands.
They're a lot of fun and old school horror movie influenced lyrics. They recently came out with an EP with all I think they called it Lycanthro EP,
All
uh,
right.
all werewolf inspired songs. So including one about a little known cryptid, Snarly Yow.
Wait, what's that again?
Snarly Yow.
What the hell is that?
It's you got either or you don't, Rich.
I
But
don't know.
hopefully you never run into old Snarly Yow in the hills of West Virginia.
I was just getting over the chupacabra. Now I have to worry about something else.
Yeah, I know. It's bad news. Dogman, Chupacabra, Snarly Yow. It's rough out here.
I interviewed because I don't know if you know, I hosted a paranormal convention in Connecticut a couple years ago, and I became friends with a lot of the vendors there. And there was the Connecticut Cryptid Society or something like that. I interviewed him. We did a 4.5, 5 hour interview. I broke it up into 5 different shows. But yeah, we talked about every single cryptid we could think of. I never heard that one though.
I'm going to petition to have you listed as a Connecticut cryptid.
That'd be great.
Yeah. I think you qualify. You're just so ubiquitous.
I clawify. I like it.
Well done, sir. Well done.
Well, John, you know what? I definitely have to have you back on the show. This is so much fun.
It was a blast.
I can go on and on and on, and I know you can too. But
I appreciate you, buddy. We'll talk again soon.
most definitely. So that wraps up the latest episode of the Claw's Corner. A huge thanks goes out to teacher, fitness coach, power lifter, movie aficionado, and music connoisseur, John Thomas Wetmore, aka the Lone Wolf. Ow! For taking time out of his extremely busy schedule to be a guest on my show. I also need to thank editor extraordinaire John Bristol, the award-winning Elmwood Productions, for always doing a superb job editing this show each and every week and making it available to all on YouTube. I am also extremely grateful to Rob Bull and Al Coles for all they do to make my show available on Spotify, iTunes, Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, as well as a local cable station in Connecticut. And I would also like to thank my Patreon subscribers for subscribing, because this helps keep the show on the air for the low cost of $3 a month, John. I want to let you know. You get early access to new episodes, including this one, and your name in the credits. You'll be the envy of all your friends, and the opportunity to submit a question for a future guest. So it's a win-win situation for all.
Who could resist?
I can't. For $3 a month? No way, not at all. I do this channel and I'm subscribed. I pay for it. Anyway, but lastly, and definitely not least, I need to thank you, the viewer, for always tuning in. Enjoy your day, everyone.
From the frenetic mind of author Rich Sear. 5 terrifying short stories, now available in one collection. Confessions of a Frenetic Mind. 5 tales of blood-curdling terror, available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble.